Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the Unlaced Podcast. As I always say, if you are new here, thank you for turning up. And if you come back again, I absolutely love you. Massive episode today. We've had some massive episodes and great feedback over the last few weeks, and I really do appreciate it. Super pumped today. I've wanted this man on for a while, and greatness sometimes comes in twos, and he's brought a surprise today in Isaac John Ice from YKTR, and of course, the great legendary Jordan Simi, probably the funniest man I've ever met, which we got to...
Thank you.
I don't know if I started it off too early.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. Let him speak. But
you guys just got into Melbourne here for the weekend?
Yeah, we flew in. Sort of made a decision yesterday. We're coming down to do a podcast, and a few of our mates are playing in the Union tomorrow. So we just come down, and then I get staff travel, so I was like, bro, just jump on. Our flight got cancelled, so we ended up just booking a ticket. Like, we're at the thing and just typing out tickets, and got a flight for like $30. So we're here.
Dude, when I saw you coming out of the car, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, he messaged me like we spoke about it briefly, but as I told you earlier, I was like trying to get out of Sydney. So I was like, and then the boys are playing this weekend. So I was like, fuck yeah, that'll be a mad little trip, eh?
Oh, man. I love Melbourne. Melbourne's sick, bro. Yeah. Every time I come down there, like, I don't think I could live here and respectfully, but in terms of weekend trip, come in, come out, bro, it's one of the best places. Yeah.
See, I have that same vibe with Sydney. Like when I go to Sydney for a weekend, I'm like, oh, Sydney's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sydney, but I've never lived there, so I don't know what it would be like. Yeah, I feel like so you're around Bondi?
Yeah, we're both from Bondi.
Yeah, see, Bondi to me, I'm like, I could live there. That like, who couldn't live in Bondi? Do you know what I mean?
Where would be the Bondi of Melbourne?
That's a really good question. Like, we don't have a Bondi. No, St Kilda's trash, bro. You'd have to go like further down the coastline, I think. Yeah.
Have you seen that TikTok when a girl explains the difference between Sydney and Melbourne?
No, but what'd she say?
Oh, she basically says like Sydney's like the good looking sister, doesn't have to try as hard. Where Melbourne's like the ugly sister, but the culture's better. So she puts a bit more effort into restaurants and coffees and stuff like that, which I find like pretty true. We were driving here and you go across the bridge and you're looking, it's not that scenic and it's a little bit dark.
It is.
But like
gloomy, man. I was like, holy shit.
We get like really cold winters. Like you have a winter here. So everyone in Melbourne, like between 20 and 30 or 35 fucks off to Europe, like in July. Yeah, true. It's like so it's torture when you stay here. Yeah. Because you see everyone's like Instagrams and shit. And it just rolls you up the wrong way.
But it's got a like half mini New York vibe to it, like with all the Italian restaurants and seats closed. So it's nice.
Yeah, you were just in New York. Yeah. I actually want to know, because I've always had this feeling like if I go to New York, I'm going to like fall in love with the city or the people. You did a solo trip.
Tell them.
You fell in love? I don't know, man.
Hey, come on, man. Nah, he's making up stories.
I'm not making up stories, man. Come on, bro.
Like, I know a girl there, but I was hanging out with her a bit. But New York's cool, bro. It's like, there's no way. Have you never been?
No, never. I've been to the States, but only on the West Coast. Never gone East Coast.
It's life-changing, I reckon.
Oh, really? Shit. Don't tell me that.
Well, like New York and...
No, New York is just, there's nowhere else like it in the world. So everything about the energy is cool. People are cool. There's times you're in India, you're like, fuck, get me out of here. Yeah. But when it's flowing, it's flowing. There's always something to do.
Do you reckon that chick that you were with, do you reckon that helped like settle you in a little bit? Like enjoy
probably me, because I like to be on the move. I usually stay somewhere for 4 nights and then cruise somewhere else. So I was there for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Money bags over here.
Richest city in the world.
Okay. You know what it is, man?
Pulled up.
I'm like, oh fuck, I'm
we're at $1.52 compared to their dollar. So or the other way around. So like I was buying, say you buy a coffee for $8 there, it's like $12. And then they flip you around it as a tip, and you always have to tip.
It's like fucking double the money.
Yeah, it's 22.
So, you say nah? Or is everyone just like, you tight ass?
Yeah, you just don't.
Actually, what do you reckon of that? Like, do you reckon we're tight asses, or do you reckon we have it right here without the tipping?
They get like staff like at cafes over here get paid pretty like decent. Over there, aren't they on like proper minimum?
Because I got told they make their profit, like what they make is off tips.
Off tips, yeah.
I find that hard to believe. So I'm like, what, they're kind of working for free? When I went
to Hawaii, these chicks were telling me that they were on like $4 or $5 an hour.
Yeah, it's like that.
And then they make all their money off tips, because we'd go, but that's why the service is so amazing, you know, like they have their own tables and shit like that. Over here, the waiters won't even talk to you, and then they have the tip button out. I'm like, bro, fuck, skip past that, bro.
That's like businesses rorting their employees, like pay them dirt cheap. Well, whatever you, it depends how good you are.
Yeah, man, that's life, man.
That's most sales businesses.
Yeah, well,
like
true.
If you look at like real estate or anything, they give you a low wage because it entices
commission
you to
based.
work harder.
Yeah, it's very true.
But like just over there, they do it so quick, and it's like, say you're in a line, and then the screen's like that, they'll just flip it around and like look away, and there's people behind us, and then it's harder to find the like no tip thing because it's right down the bottom. So you just go, fuck it.
Could you live there, do you reckon?
I went over there to figure out if I could. I don't think I could anymore.
You couldn't, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
What would be the sort of things that
Water,
stop
just
you?
water. Like it was
really?
like
Yeah.
30 degrees. You're in the city. There's heaps of people walking past. You know what it is? It's over like there's too much things going on all the time.
Yeah.
So you could walk a kilometer. Within that kilometer, you could walk like, I walked past a homeless guy having a shit. Like it just went, so I walked past, saw that, smelt that.
That's disgusting.
Literally on this walk, guy got hit by like he fell off his bike, and then like there's always sirens, there's always horns. So like without even knowing it, you're always on guard, and then by the time you get home, bro, you're just like,
I can imagine.
yeah. So, but don't get me wrong, New York's the coolest city in the world.
I love it. One thing, I don't know if you are doing this, but I definitely noticed on your Instagram, but I know for a fact you do, is you guys wake the fuck up like real early.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to know some of the principles behind that and the benefits that you get from a productivity perspective or a mindset perspective around that, because like you're like, I'm talking, you're like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. sometimes. I'm like, that is as early as anyone I know getting up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, who gets up earlier than
He
that?
gets up through
I wake up at like maybe 1.
Don't sleep.
It started off as anxiety, but I mean, I'd just wake up and be like full of anxiety.
Oh, really?
Like, fuck, like could not go back to sleep. Now it's like different, but it started with my old boy. He used to go to my mum used to drive him to work every morning, and he used to wake up at like 5 and then slap me around the head, and then I'd have to go for the ride too. So now my body clock just wakes me up early. Like,
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes it's all right, but I fuck my sleep up completely. I've been waking up at like 1 a.m., 12 a.m.
I swear.
Yeah, so I have to time it like at like 11, 12 p.m. to go to sleep so I can actually get a full night's sleep.
Yeah.
Sydney's a morning city. Like, when I first moved to Bondi, someone goes, there's 2 parts of Bondi, the morning and the night. You can't live both. And he goes, the people you want to hang around are in the morning. And then once I moved there, I never used to get up. Like, I used to get up kind of early, like 5:30. 5:30. But when I moved to Bondi, everyone's up and about from 5 till about 7. It's buzzing.
It's pumping,
it buzzes in the morning.
Coffee shops open.
Coffee shops open at 5. People are going for runs. You can exercise. You go for a swim. It's like there's not many places in the world that are like it.
Does it die? But it doesn't die down early though, Bondi. Like it goes all night. Like
Everyone's
even through the
Not
weeks.
really, bro. We don't like the reason why a lot of people love Melbourne is because the nightlife so much better.
It's dangerous, bro.
Everyone said that, like, all my mates are like, man, Melbourne is fucking sick to go out.
There's like places that are like almost 24/7 in Melbourne.
What's the main one? And there's a
Revolver.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
is that story true where someone found a dead body?
Yeah,
in
yeah.
there?
Well, apparently it is. Yeah,
It's one of the great yarns.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Like,
isn't it?
but apparently it was like 3 days. It was
That's
there, like
fucked.
behind a couch or something.
Well, it didn't smell.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. People are that fried in there. Maybe they didn't notice. But
Usually
yeah,
they notice for other things.
it's actually like
it's
it's so big, but it's got a bit of a bad reputation in the sense of like if you go there, it's like why'd you go there?
Yeah.
But when you go there, like it's an experience, man. Like
I've been
it's
there
like
once.
it's like you're kind of like a Berlin vibe or something like that. Is what I think they're trying to.
It looked like there was a smoke
emphasize.
machine in there, but there was no
Yeah,
smoke
but
machine.
it just doesn't stop, man. And like, especially for people in hospitality, like there's Sundays and Mondays. You go to Revolver, and then the Monday morning, there's like a thing here called Breakfast Club, which is like a well-known thing that starts at 10 a.m. and just keeps going.
They got those in Miami too. My friend was telling me
that's
about
cool.
those.
Yeah.
And that's the time you line up to get in.
But it's cooked for here. But like you go to Europe and it's like
They
kind
love
of
that
it's
shit,
common.
yeah.
Like people do that
I think the
everywhere.
closest thing to that in Sydney would be, what's that one on Sunday? It's like in the city.
I think it's a better way to drink, bro. Like brunch, like all those long lunches, brunches.
Me
Because you
too.
start early, you get messy, you get home by 9.
You sleep.
I heard Andrew Schultz talking about, he goes, Europeans have figured it out because he was going to all the rich places. And he goes, all them old as fuck people, like they've figured it out. You get drunk early, you drink nice wine, you go home and you wake up the next day and you're good.
Oh man.
So we've got it backwards where we start, New Zealand's even worse.
Is it really?
Because you start going out about 12.
Wow.
That's when you start going out, but you hang on later. But all the cousins are
fucked
trying to
either
drink
way,
at home.
Yeah.
I'm bad either way.
So you both born and raised in New Zealand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did the move happen for the both of you to come to Australia? I know yours was probably through footy, I assume.
Yeah, I just moved over like family-wise. Like
Family-wise.
family shit. Yeah.
So how long you been
Probably
in Sydney for?
probably about on and off for like 5, 6, 7 years, I reckon. 5 years.
He got 6, 7.
He got to Perth and his dad left.
He took off, really? The cunt just took off.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, bro.
Actually, you did. You told me this.
Yeah, he just took
we
off,
met in
bro.
Perth. For those listening, we met at UFC Perth. We had a heart-to-heart.
different coffee table.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the cunt took off, bro, and he just left me there, and I just had to sort of find my way, eh?
Yeah,
So,
that's right. I remember when you told us this story, and we were like pretty hammered at this time, and everyone was like it kind of sucked the wind out of everyone.
That's what he does.
Yeah,
bro.
we're like, bro, you okay, man?
Yeah, bro.
And he's kind of there talking about it like it was tying a shoelace.
Was there a girl there?
Yeah,
That's what it is. That's what he uses.
That's that sympathy wrist.
Yeah, that's like as he was putting his arm around there.
I was like, hey, let's get out of here, eh?
Yeah, I've got anxiety. Let's go. I've seen it too many times.
Oh, I love it. I
bro.
love it. So we probably don't cover enough NRL on this podcast, and I thought if you got some brains here, and I want to pick your brains on the season because in the AF, brain.
Of course.
Do you not know NRL?
Of course I know.
You're built like a player.
Yeah, someone in the
You
plane
need a heart
actually.
in the spine to
Someone in the plane goes, the guy sitting next to me, he's like, do you play rugby league? And I was like, yeah, I do. I was like, he's like, do you play an NRL? I was like,
He's carrying a Queensland
I do.
bag.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Normie's Queensland bag on.
Did you?
Oh, I don't have a suitcase, so it was just, fuck, you got to roll with what you got.
Well, so
Did your dad take his suitcase when he left?
He did, man.
See,
He did.
You can say that joke. I don't think I can say that yet. I don't think I can say that. Yeah, so in the AFL anyway, it's kind of like a 2-horse, 3-horse race, but kind of one team everyone's tipping is going to win it. I noticed Penrith is back up at the top. Broncos are pretty close, even though it's tight from a points perspective. Like sort of the points difference in what Penrith are doing seems like they're going to be hard to catch. I mean, what's your opinion? Can they be beaten across the year?
Oh, it's one of those ones where, like, they're saying they probably can only beat themselves. Like, if they rock up and they play their best footy and everyone else plays their best footy, they're probably still going to win. But they're chasing a 3-peat, which no one's done in a minute. So, I don't know. They probably like the equivalent would be like Richmond over those couple years where they might get 3 out of 4. So they've been in the last 3 grand finals, picked up 2. But if they can drag a 3-peat, that's pretty special.
Because they're kind of like young, aren't they? Still, like at least when they were winning.
Move next season,
They've got the biggest development system nursery. So like in Western Sydney, you'll see like dudes probably the same size as Simi from a young age, and then they plug them into a great system. And then they've got guys that they can see winning now. Like when they let players go, the other clubs are playing not overs for them. It's probably what they're worth. But when you're playing in a good system, you can get them a little bit cheaper, and you get young kids that are 17, 18.
Loyalty involved.
A bit of loyalty, play on the area. Like you think 1-4's from there. Ty and Tyson are from there. So Western Sydney is kind of like the hub right now of anything that's cool culturally. And then you got the Penrith side that are winning comps too. So it's a really cool time to
makes me want to move to Penrith, man.
I used to live
it's
in
so
Penrith.
far, isn't it? Like I remember, I've been out to Penrith. I played at their ground once, a soccer game, and it's fucking. I remember
It's
going,
as far
Is it the equivalent of Geelong? Like they're not in Melbourne,
well, kind of. Yeah, it's not too far off it. Yeah, it would be from like the CBD of Sydney. It's probably very similar.
Do you know Marcus Callard and that? Do you know those boys? The vodka Ram boys?
I know of them. I don't know them. Yeah. Are they from that way?
No, he lives in Bondi. He lives by us. But,
right.
He gets talking about AFL a bit, but we just like,
oh man, that's why I really want to take you guys to the game tonight. I want to try to figure out how I can get you tickets. Well, we'll make it happen.
I've never been to a game, mate.
How, like, Braden, how can I describe, like, Collingwood Carlton is like, it's kind of like, I don't know, who's the Sydney, who's like the Sydney, who's like
Roosters,
Sydney,
Rabbitohs would be the big
it's Roosters, Rabbitohs. Like,
but you get 90,000 there.
Yeah, but so let's say
90,000?
let's say the Roosters are on like, they're invincible. They're like Penrith right now, which is Collingwood. So if Collingwood don't play well, they can get beaten. But if Collingwood play at their best, no one can beat them at the MCG.
Yeah.
And then Carlton, there's been like, it's like 100-year history of rivalry. And Carlton used to be one of the most successful teams from like a premiership perspective, like through the 1900s.
Yeah.
And then they've just gone to shit like the last like few years, and everyone's loving it. But they've had like 3-4 weeks of like really good form. And they're like beating some good teams. They beat second on the ladder like a few weeks ago.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So there's going to be like 90,000. They hate each other.
Canberra Raiders vibes.
Yeah, I feel for the. It's kind of, I guess, to be the Melbourne Storm boys down here, but like the Swans boys last year.
Yeah.
Like obviously went on a great run, but like you see a lot of those boys just cruising around, and like I think it's a good thing because they can just cruise around and do what they want.
Yeah.
Same as the Melbourne Storm boys down here because we're so like rugby league central.
I always thought that's why Cam Smith and Billy Slater stayed here. and like Cooper Cronk, because I was like, if they go
comps.
to, if they go, true.
Yeah.
But if they go to Queensland, like, I don't think people in Melbourne understood what their life's like.
No, yeah.
Like they can't go to Coles or they can't go to Woolies or some shit and like not get harassed.
I love, honestly, I love how the AFL boys move. Like we come down there last year and we're partying with a few of the boys and they just move a little bit smarter.
Yeah.
Like they're in suits.
Still they make a lot of errors, but like NRL, I think
don't hear about it.
NRL have set a pretty easy benchmark to beat at times.
Do you know what it was? We place our emphasis on someone who's cool as someone who's a larrikin. Like you look at all our content creators or all like Matty Johns, he's a larrikin, like all those guys.
Just rat bags.
Yeah. And we put those guys on the pedestal. Yo, he's a funny guy. So when we go out and get on the piss, we're all like a little bit more rowdier. Yeah. Where we're knocking around with the AFL boys, they're all suited up, shaking hands.
They're good, man.
But smarter.
They're cool. They're cool guys. A lot of it, do you know what? There's definitely boys here that I reckon would love to play in another state because the most famous people in Melbourne are AFL players. Yeah. As soon as they leave the city, not too many people would probably know who they are, but here they can't go anywhere. Like, especially the cream of the crop. Like Dustin Martin, people haven't seen him for like in public for like years because it's like you can't go out. Do you know what I mean?
He's like my favorite.
He's a legend.
We were just talking about him.
He's a legend.
He's kind of the one that sort of transfers over to league pretty well because he's a bit of he looks like a bit of rat bag.
Yeah, I reckon he would play well as well. Like I reckon he'd probably be good at league.
I didn't realize how big he was.
Yeah, he's quick.
Like he was standing next to Latrell when they come down and done some content. I was like, bro, is that dude that big?
Yeah, man, it's scary.
How big is he? Like 6'3"?
It'd be 6'2", 3".
Yeah, something like that. It's kind of like the new fold of like, or new breed of midfielder in AFL. Like some of the best players are like 6'4", 6'3", but move like they're 5'5".
Usually midfield
like Patrick Cripps, Bontempelli, like that makeup. Scott Pendlebury was kind of one of the first.
Got a gun palm.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, I love hearing you talk about, and I'll go into the background of YKTR because obviously I'm a massive fan and followed the journey for a while. But I love hearing you talk about like things that Australian sports can do better from a content point of view and engagement point of view with fans because it's very rigid. Like, for instance, we always talk in the AFL, there's so many guys that love their fashion, but they have to go to the game in like their Collingwood polo or their Carlton polo and dressed and be like all straight and narrow.
We were talking about this the other day.
And I'd love to like get your guys' inputs because you guys are very creative and create cool content of like things you think we could be doing better that obviously American sports do well at times, to kind of make it more fun, make it more engaging and bring out more personality in some of the players.
What do you think?
Oh, man, I think if you just go just off the back of like NBA, NFL, they create like heroes within the game and they allow the boys to like show their creativity through like fashion. Yeah. They pretty much put them in front of cameras to do certain things like that they're into. If I was saying to Ice, like if you think of an NRL player that's like the actual poster boy of the game, like you can't really think of one. I mean, you think of like Latrell and like KP and stuff, but I just feel like everyone hates on, players and stuff here, even the media, so much that the boys are more like sheltered to be like,
so like
they don't want to get out.
Individuals, like the individuals that kind of come out and be themselves. I thought NRL was like good with that because I always see like the NRL interviews, like there's still like a beer culture, like that's like accepted. Like in AFL, it's like, you got to hide that. Do you know what I mean? But NRL, it's still like you have a beer, it's like, like love it.
It's just like, it's not even just, it's not even just the game though. It's like, it's the fans as well. Like as soon as you start to step outside of outside of that like footy player thing, everyone's like, starts hating on like tall poppy syndrome, like people. But I mean, just I always say this on the piss when I'm with a few of the boys, like, man, why don't they put the names on the back of the jerseys or like let them swap the numbers up and like if you want to grow the game and you want to grow the fan base, like you have to create heroes within the sport, and they really don't do it. They don't allow them to.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's fucking weird, man.
I think if you look at like a sport like
I'm really passionate about it.
It pisses me off. I do,
he's spot on. You got to build characters within the game. Like, if you look at a movie and there's always like a main character and a backup character, and season by season that can change. But the key part that people need to realize is like sports. Does it go for 80 minutes in AFL?
It's like half an hour quarters. Like you can go up to 30 minutes. Man. It's like going to an NFL game. It's long, but there's not as many stops like in between. Like it's pretty. You need to be super fit.
I used to play it back in the day, but we'll get back into that.
You'd actually be probably.
Yeah, I played ruckman.
What about the engine, bros? He's vaping up in here.
This was back in the day, back in the country league in Kalgoorlie. But I will talk about it after. Go.
So like
this guy.
So the best part, the brands, the sports that are doing it right, they celebrate like individual people, but it's not about the game. It's about everything else from Monday to Friday. So what is Jordan Simi doing after a game, after they lose? What does he eat? So the way you sort of break it down is like you get someone who's super successful in sports and attach them to something that's like relevant. And this is what MTV Cribs was always like, people get to look in their houses and see it. And what was the best part when they open their fridge? You're like, oh, they got the same shit in here. Yeah. So if you can merge the athlete and superstar with the common day thing, I think that's where the beauty lies. Like, what does he listen on the way to a game? What does he eat before a game?
So true.
Like, if you look at reality TV, it went from like you had to be like signed by a movie place, or then it went to reality TV, or for the Kardashians, and it went to vlogging. Like, people use the internet and started vlogging, and it gave an insight to people's lives. Yeah. So the best example of this is that Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
So I think I read a stat on it, maybe 10 to 15% of the actual show was racing, and the other 80% was about their lives.
That's unbelievable.
And if you look at the data, I think they raised their revenue by a couple billion just from that show.
And
like Melbourne.
And now you see all the other sports are doing there in there.
Crazy.
It was one of the biggest sporting. It was the biggest sporting event in Australia. Was the F1 down here?
Yeah.
And that was from that show. So
people always refer to like fans as like new fan or old fan of the F1, and you see like the golfing doing it.
Yeah,
it's
tennis,
like the tennis. Yeah, and it's like it makes sense. But I mean, even with the NRL though, like the players somewhat have to buy into it, because you see a lot of the older players starting to put out content, but it's too late. It's too late. So they're like, shit, what are we going to do after footy? But if the younger guys or even just all the players get together and sort of say, okay, this is the way we're going to move now, then I think that's like super important. Like even when everyone was doing those, like they were wearing what they wanted into training. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there was getting so much content around that. It was cool, but I think it's just the mentality of like rugby league is fucking run by like 12 old men.
But Hello Sports said on the podcast the other day, we've got this gross double standard of like, if you're playing well, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
I love those.
Yeah, those guys are the best. But they like, as soon as football starts going downhill, and like Corey used to say this all the time, he goes, if it doesn't matter when you're winning, why does it matter when you're losing? Because Corey got like a $20,000 fine for drinking with us one time when he had a cork.
Oh, fuck.
But like, because Brad lost 5 games in a row or something like that, they're like, why is he out drinking?
Yeah, correct.
And the other part of it is what we have in rugby league in Sydney is fucking really shit media, where Fox Sports, they'll do whatever they can to get the best story. They don't care. They'll throw you under a bus. Yeah. And I'll give you an example. So Nico Hines on the weekend, poster boy, golden boy, everyone loves him.
Best player.
One of the best. You want to say he's the best player?
Well, we won the
Dally M, which is, but he blew up at a female touch judge. Now, players would blow up at a touch judge every single game, but because she was a female, there's a storyline there. So, and all he said was like, you've called 3 bad forward passes in a row. And they've got the audio or something along like that. So that's the difference. Down here, you get in trouble.
He's like a gentleman too, isn't he?
Gentleman.
He's the nicest guy ever.
He's honestly one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Probably like too nice sometimes.
Like borderline bisexual. I've said this to him too, by the way. He's actually one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Yeah, he comes across so well, man.
Yeah.
Comes across so well.
Talking to Nico the other day, like he posted thing he was doing like fashion shots, but and he looked grouse, bro. It was like, you know, it looked mad, but then he was like, he was paying himself out, and I was like, nah, don't do that, bro. Own it, man, because this is how the game grows off the field, is like when you create, you know, like he could honestly do whatever he wanted to do, you know, like, but
he looked cool too.
He looked mad. He was wearing shorts and a blazer.
Like this, like
shorts and a blazer.
It's like a subconscious thing. He's just like, I put it there like as a joke, but not realizing like, fuck, this is like
it was a full professional shot.
It's the 8 Mile effect. Like you take the piss out of yourself before
anyone else.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's very good.
But like really good point. Like even like Penrith, like obviously they're winning, so they're doing their try celebrations. They're like, but that's the energy, bro, and that's why like a lot of those boys are like, they're cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think obviously winning's got a big part to play. And like,
if you're winning, you do anything. Look at Dusty. Dusty's
oh man, and you know what? He's before he won that first flag, like he still doesn't talk to media because of how they treated him and like his family and stuff.
Yeah.
So he still doesn't talk to him until he started winning. Then they started putting him in this light. And I respect him so much for still not doing it to this day.
That's it.
Because they even like some of the stuff around his family, they dragged through the mud, which like had nothing to do with what he did on the field. And then he went and literally Dane Swan says it. He's the best finals player of all time. Like he played in 3 grand finals and won 3 Norm Smiths, which is like Clive Churchill
Yeah,
medals.
yeah.
Yeah, it's won 3 in a row and
what
won
I'm
the grand
saying, eh?
finals.
He's Māori, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's got Islander in him, I think. Yeah, there you go.
There's an untapped market over there, man. I'm telling you,
He's got like
there's
a
an
different
untapped
strength.
market.
I don't know if we'll see a player like him again. Like, I think he's that good.
He's kind of like Cam Munster over in league. Like they're kind of like similar characters. Munster's a little bit more leery.
Yeah.
But like when you watch him play on the field, the bigger the occasion gets, the better they get.
What is it about Munster? Because like I don't know rugby league, but I look at him and I'm like, is he like quick? He's not the quickest. He doesn't seem like the most skillful.
What's it about Dusty Martin? Like, we could ask you the same question.
Dusty's probably the strongest and like the quickest over like a small like area. Well, he's like the most powerful player.
A few of the boys I've spoken to said like Money's like pretty strong in contact.
So is he? No, he's like
Mongy strong. Yeah.
Is that, so
but I think it's more his IQ.
Wrong there? Is he like actually?
No, he apparently is really strong and like he's pretty quick off the mark. But I think his IQ, man, is just like he knows where to be. Like he knows where to be standing. I reckon he's got a huge
heart or something. Like the way he plays is like really ferocious.
Him in contact, he's like no one's running over him.
Yeah.
When he runs the ball, bro, so he'll have a back row on him, which would be like similar size to Simi, and like a half, and he can just stand there and hold it. He's weird strong, bro. But it's like
he's got country strength.
I want to go into a bit of Ice's journey, and Simi, you can elaborate on yours as well through this, because you're definitely you're definitely involved in some of it, but you actually embody a lot of what this podcast is about, because it's like humanizing athletes, but also a big part of my life was like transitioning out of sport, probably at an age bracket where people are like, what are you doing? Like you've got way more to achieve in the game and so forth. And I think my circumstance were a little bit different than yours. Like I actually like mentally switched off from the game. I had a lot of injuries and wasn't achieving what I wanted. Whereas I think
that sounds like me.
Oh, were you the same?
Yeah,
because I always thought you felt like you had like a calling of like you want to do something else.
I just kind of got to a point where, like, when I was on football, I was just like getting bored of conversations that I was having.
Yeah.
And at that time, I'd read a bunch of books. I was really like nerdy into all that sort of stuff. I was into photography and trying to make videos. And at the time, probably wasn't that cool. Like you see someone like Kayla now, like he does it and it's like cool as fuck.
Yeah, back then you're a nerd type.
Yeah, you had to.
Do you know what? There's actually a bit of a stigma around that in locker rooms. Like that guy's like he reads a book. Fuck with. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But then you get out of it, you're like, no, that's the guy you want to be, bro. Like you don't want to be the other guys that like don't do anything.
They all realize that after, like I was saying, like I won't name names, but you see some of the older players now, they're shooting content, they're posting like little flashy highlight reels, and I'm like,
they haven't built
too late, bro.
Yeah.
It's too late, bro.
It's like when you haven't pulled in a nightclub and you're up the front and you're trying to pull late, but it just seems a little bit, they can smell the desperation on you.
This sounds familiar.
And this
Good times.
This is what happens. Guys, they maximize the leverage when they do have it.
Yeah.
And you know, the guys who end up being cooler once they leave football are the guys that are in and around the middle. It's the same as high school. Yeah. The coolest guy in high school isn't the coolest guy now.
Yeah, that's so true.
So the guys who are in and around the middle, who kind of like blended in, same with football, I reckon. Because those superstars have it so well during that time, you don't really need to work hard or think about transitioning. And then once you get to the other side, it's just like, it's the guys who are in the middle who sort of come up.
Yeah, because I actually find it inspiring, your journey, in the sense, because if I paint the picture, you would have been a young boy in New Zealand that would have idolized like the All Blacks and the Warriors and so forth. And just like, because I can only assume they're the sporting heroes of sort of the country. But then you get you make it through probably hard work and dedication, and you play for the Warriors.
You had a full family too. Lucky cunt. Had a mum and dad too, just take him to training, the bastard.
It's like, glad you're here, man. Just level us out, keep us humble. Yeah. But yeah, so then like you get there, but then at the same time, you probably don't achieve all you want in the game, and you come out and you build something even bigger than you. And so at what point, because you played for the Warriors and then you went to the Panthers, as we spoke of them, you played like what, across 5 years, like 50 odd games or something?
Yeah, about that. Yeah. So I was like,
did my research.
I was in a like full-time system for like 8-9 years. Like I went from straight, but not to play that many games. Yeah. So that sort of shows how many times I was injured. But like sort of what he said was, he was probably spot on. Like I had a really good family. My dad was like my football coach.
Yeah.
My mum.
You turned out well, man.
Yeah. Just hanging around me, sort of growing up.
At least what we see.
Just, man, probably last few months.
But like, it's spot on. Like I had a great mum who was like the loving, but she pushed me towards education. I had a dad who was like hard on me and expected success. So I had expectations on me from a kid. And if I didn't do well in school or do well in football, like there was a consequence to that. Nothing like dangerous, but like you don't want to let your parents down. So you get a little bit older, you're used to success and there's an expectation for you.
Yeah.
Like, I've got no reason not to be successful. Yeah. That's the way I see it. I've got great parents. I've got no excuse. None.
Did you have that, like, when you came out of the game, and this is a common question we have on this with people in that sort of situation, but like, where were you at when you came out, like in the transition phase? Because I was fucked for a few years, to be honest, but like, were you in a space where you're already moving and changing your thought patterns, or were you stuck on sort of the past a little bit?
No, I was cool because I reckon about 2 years before, I'd tell like Chico and Normie, like, bro, I'm over football.
Right.
Or like I'd always talk about it. And then I ended up snapping my pec in one of my last games. And I remember saying it loud for the first time. Like I'd kind of like whisper around the conversation, but then I go, fuck, I'm done with football. I'm going to move on. And the day I said that, I felt so much lighter. So when I transitioned out, I didn't have any issues with leaving because I never always associated myself with football. It was just a small part of what I did. I like to have different types of conversations with different types of people, and I'd read a fuckload of books by that time. So I think I was diverse across a lot of things. So football went from feeling this big to like, that's just something I used to do.
Not enough athletes think that way, I reckon.
Well,
like,
that's what
you said it before. Like, people think about it too late.
That's what it is, bro. That's what it is. Like, I think if a lot of players focused on like building brands around themselves, like, doesn't have to be media, but it could be whatever it may be. But if they do that sooner rather than later, then I think you leave the game with a bit more. Like, I reckon if you had your podcast sort of, planned about 2-3 years, sort of coming towards the end,
100%.
You would have been like, oh, like, all good. I've got, and like, you see Quaid, like, he's got his clothing brand. I think a lot of players need to look at those avenues, like, when they're getting to that point. I tell
athletes all the time. I'm like, when they're sort of 20 to 25, I'm like, start a business.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you've got a platform, and I'm like, it's not to take focus off your game. It's actually to help your game, to like shift.
100.
When you don't play well, you focus on something else.
Yeah.
You don't dwell on it. Like,
And you know the big one is travel. Like, like you said, like down here in Melbourne, a lot of players wish they could play somewhere else. But if you're an AFL player, you leave Melbourne, AFL feels like this, and then you start to leave, it gets smaller and smaller. And if you think of a drone that goes up like that, and you go, Victoria's pretty big, now let's go to New South Wales, a couple guys will know you. Zoom it out to Australia, maybe the West Coast and some of Adelaide will know you. You go to fucking Bali, America, no one knows you. So in context of the whole wide world, what we did as a job may seem big at that time, but it's not. It's not.
True.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I used to think when I played bad, everyone knew about it. Like, I'd go to a cafe and be like,
can I get a long black, please?
like, no one
Takeaway.
Bro, no one cares. No one actually cares when you like.
Yeah, it's in your head.
Well, I mean,
some people care, but their whole life is a diehard fan.
I'd read Normie's comments after a game. I'd be like, "Yo, do you want to go grab a feed or something?" He's like, "Nah, I'm not leaving the house, man." And then I'd look at his comments. They're like, "You fucking robbed the dragons and this and that." So, like,
Bro, the time he got in big trouble was when he got caught going down on
the barbecue.
Oh. Nah, like when that girl tried to blackmail him for that sex video.
Oh, yeah.
have you
No, is this Norman?
Corey Norman, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't even know him, but I just know I like him.
Everyone does,
because he's just like, he's like a lot of my mates. He's super successful, super talented, but always in the rough, always in the shit. And it's like, bro, why?
Bro, people, whenever, like mates and stuff, like, people have a, perception of him, but then when they meet him, they're like, fuck, he's the nicest guy. Like, whenever I hear anyone talk shit about him, whether it be whoever, I'll just rile up because he did a lot for me. Like,
he stole his flow too.
Nah,
yes, he did, bro.
Damn.
I
thought you had swag, bro.
If it wasn't for me stealing that, like, who knows where it'd be? Like, truly,
good perspective.
I sort of made him like, he didn't want it, but I was like, man, you're my new father figure for a couple of years. And he had to grow up really fast. So, hey, man, like, I carried him up the stairs, but after a Mad Monday one time, but I won't get into that.
Fuck, that's quality. Hey legends, just a quick break in this episode to thank our partners, Dabble, the gambling agency, where you dabble socially and gamble responsibly. Please only bet what you can and are willing to lose. Now, Dabble is one of the great platforms out there. I absolutely love using it. Very similar to Instagram, where you can follow some of the head honchos in the different sports, copy their bets and get some good wins on the board. Now, fortunately for me, I've been working with Dabble for over a year. This year, we are doing a stream every Tuesday night. It's called Jake's Take. It's from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. where you can go in the Dabble app. You can join me. We get guests on every week. We bet on the dogs. We have an absolute ball, and they're talking about sport and cutting up the shop around what's going around town across all codes. So come on down, check it out. Dabble socially, gamble responsibly, and let's get back into the episode. I've followed the YKTR journey for a long time. I think, but so funny. It's actually embarrassing for me because I reckon it would have been like episode 30 and we did a Zoom pod with Ice and I spoke to him a while ago and I'm like, bro, do you remember coming on my podcast? He's like, oh, nah, bro, nah. I'm like, bro, we cut up the shit. It was like short. And this is when you were like, I'm going to jump on like 8 or 9 podcasts. And I jumped on it because I was watching your content heavily at the time. So I caught it straight away, messaged Jackson or whatever, and he helped set it up. But so I've been watching you guys for years.
Take him two weeks to come.
Yeah, probably. But I just want you guys to, or both of you, but Ice, obviously you're a co-founder of it, just to give us a background of how it started and what was sort of the purpose behind it when you did it.
Do you want to say?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you go.
Fuck no, I'll tell you a funny story. Like, whenever I meet anyone, they ask about YKTR. I'm like, I tell everyone I started today.
Do you really?
Always, bro. Yeah. I'm like, I'm the Y in YKTR. And people are like,
yeah, why we hire you?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, bro, just us four used to live together. I tell the exact story, but I add myself into it.
It's so big now, like, and it's obviously continuously growing, but you're in a position where, and I love how you pivot on, like, you're not just clothing, you're into sports, but the various types of contents you're pushing out and sort of the moves you're taking. And I'm sure there's like some inspiration from Barstool Sports as well.
Do you know what was, bro? Like at the time, no one had kind of done it. So it's kind of obvious now, but YKTR was just like me, Chico, Normie, we lived together. And YKT, like, you know, the rules was kind of like a word at the time. You look at someone like Addo Car says, let's trot. And that's all it was. Like we used to just like use the acronym on girls. You remember Pia Miller?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like she was like a crush at the time.
Oh, man,
and like,
she still is for me.
Yeah.
She hasn't aged, bro. Respectfully.
Man. I don't even look.
She married into that rich buns.
Yeah, that's when I knew I was done.
Pia Miller off fucking Home and Away. Oh, my days.
Yeah. The go. But we used to just comment on girl stuff and like we'll be like, oh, you're going to go out tonight, and we just say, you know the rules. So it kind of just stemmed from that. I was just into like business books at the time, and we just started
was it clothing?
Just t-shirt, yeah.
Because clothing, I mean, you're wearing some stuff now, but it's like high quality shit.
It is, bro.
It flies off. Like
any of my mates that like pinch a hoodie or something, like I see them wearing it consistently. They're like, fuck, this is actually the best hoodie I have.
Like a lot of people have like ripped it too. Like it looks exactly the same and materials and stuff, which happens in the clothing game. But we were in this phase where we were trying to do YKTR Sports, like you said, mirrored off Barstool Sports, and we had Simi in there and a few of the other boys too. And I kind of took my eye off the clothing game. So we're in a phase now where all my attention's back there. So with clothing, you just always got to be adaptive and moving forward, because if people keep copying, like at the start could seem a coincidence, but if it still looks similar after a couple of years, like you can sort of like smell the trail on you.
Yeah. That's fair.
So and there's so much more people coming into the game right now. When we first started, people were buying them because like, oh, this is an Australian brand.
It's a tough market, man. Like starting a clothing business now, it's pretty saturated. Like you've got to have a real, like
it's same as a podcast.
You got to grow.
Anything that's got an easy entrance point, there's always going to be a flood of people, but cream always rises, bro. Cream
that's true.
And like even Ice was saying it the other day, like you have to grow. Like in regards to like whatever, like if you're changing what you're selling, like just growing within yourself as well. I think that's what you were saying, like about. And
like the time where like there was times where like we were the hottest brand. We couldn't keep shit in enough clothes in stock, and we were selling out of like stuff in like minutes, like couple minutes, and it was crazy to watch. But at the time, we were in COVID, so everyone was sitting at home. That's before we at the time, we were sitting in COVID, and everyone, all they wanted was comfortable sweats, and we made the most comfortable hoodie at the time. So then we got out of COVID, everyone wanted to travel and move, and we didn't really make stuff that accommodated towards that, you know what I mean? So, and other brands did. They started to take off. But like I said, I kind of took my eye off the ball with the sports stuff, and I saw a market there. And that was definitely scalable, because I saw how much money I was making from podcasting. I was like, oh shit, I can build this out quickly and clip it all as a business and help people. And Simi was a part of that. But like the media game, like you said, it's quite easy to start. And sort of once the boys realize that, they can just go off and do their own thing, which is cool. That's just what happens.
Yeah. Was that a hard pill to swallow though? Because like it's not just it's for you. It wasn't just like losing employees. Like you're like mates. Like genuine friendships, I assume, with some of these guys. Like obviously, look at you guys now, you know.
Yeah, like we're sweet, we're sweet now.
but yeah, I think it's impressive. I also, because obviously, Simi, I'm glad you're here, but I didn't know you were coming. But I was going to ask like how you were able to transition and like your sort of thought process there, because obviously such a big part of YKTR was probably a lot of the podcasting and sports brand, probably for that sort of 1 or 2 year period. Maybe on the front end at least.
Yeah, front end it looked like that, but from the back end, like me and YKTR were funding YKTR Sports.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, that was kind of like the hard part where like probably the boys that left most recently, they understood what was going on behind the scenes and like if they didn't feel appreciated, like there was stuff that we were doing, and I won't get into numbers and stuff like that because sort of paints them in a bad light, but. Yeah, like the sad thing about it was that was enough to say. Hey?
I heard it. Rat bags.
No. The only thing I was disappointed with, and like me and Simi didn't see eye to eye for a bit.
But do you know what? Like, I'm not going to lie, even though it's great you guys can sit here and talk about it, but like from an outside perspective, some of the content around that was some of the most thrilling to watch.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like it was like Portnoy when he goes at his like employees and shit. Like that's some of the best shit to watch.
And because you're into business and podcasting, and like I think in this country it doesn't fly, but like all the drama stuff.
Like I love watching your like tantrums and shit, or like like just like claiming he's running the business. Like, man, I'm bringing in the like. Do you know that shit to me was good.
It wasn't a claim. It was fucking the facts, the numbers he was referring to just before. No, but it was funny, man, because like I'm a wild stallion, man. I need to fucking I need to let my hair down and and
you need a peacock, bro.
I'm bipolar, like literally.
Are you actually?
Yeah. I take medication for it now, so it sort of dulled me down a bit. I won't get into it, but no, but like it was funny. He goes, "Nah, fuck you, bro." Blah blah blah. We were sort of arguing, and I
had a good reason though.
Yeah. But I kept messaging him though, going, I go, "You'll be back." But I go, message me when you grow up, and then like he would be like, "Nah, fuck." He was arguing with himself, and I'll be like, "Yeah, sweet. I'll speak to you in a couple of weeks when you've calmed down." He's like, "Nah, fuck," because he lent me some money and shit, bro. And he was like, "Fucking pay me back, you can." And I was like, "Nah, bro." I was like, "No," and we just kept arguing over it, and then
he placed some money down, like it's like a couple $100.
Nah, but you got to think about mental money that he owes me for the harassment that I endured.
I love how he's made up his own currency.
Hey, mental money's a real thing, bro.
I'm going to call the Simi currency mental money, bro.
Mental money, man. He's down $1 million. You know what I mean? Like, but like, it was this weird time, bro. Because like, I was fucking. It was funny though, because he would.
And I caught the hammering from everyone too.
This is why this platform's so big. When everyone sort of had left to go off and do their own thing and maybe realize that it's an easy entrance and stuff, like you actually cop like a lot of, not attention's probably the right word, of like everyone knew what was going on in your business, which is kind of a weird thing. And then so all of a sudden you have to like explain stuff, even though you know why and you're comfortable with the reasons or whatever. You have to like explain it. Like was that difficult?
I'd tell him not to do it.
But I think he made the right move, but it's just ridiculous that he has to make that move. Do you know what I mean? Is what I thought.
But people fell in love with Simi, you know what I mean? So like his podcast, and people loved it. So when he leaves YKTR, and at the time it was kind of like mutual, where like he wanted to go do his own thing, plus it kind of wasn't really working out.
Yeah, it was like
Jackson wanted to like break off.
Jacko was like a part of the business, but I was sort of like doing Grouse. It was like becoming its own entity, and then I felt
it was flying too.
Yeah, it was a great podcast.
Like it was our best performing podcast.
I never saw his eyes in it, just sunglasses and fucking.
Yeah, I wear them to protect myself. It's like Superman's cape, really. But yeah, like we were getting pissed and stuff, and like I just didn't think at the time like there was just no structure around from it. So like I couldn't like, I'd be like, why aren't these guys investing? I'll fucking rock up half an hour late. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. Like it just wasn't like
some Simi currency back to us there, bro.
Yeah, man. Well, there's
and then like he had a girlfriend at the time. So kind of like speaking of bipolar pills, that really dumbed down to his content.
Yeah.
So he was only saying stuff, but then he'll be like mindful that it'll get back to her. So and like really diluted his content a lot.
Right, okay.
Where he's best been,
and you could see it in the numbers too. Like the numbers, like the views, the interactions, the comments, everything was dying down, and it was actually putting stress on my relationship too, because I was like, I'm fucking losing money here and losing like what I'm trying to build, and then plus two, the boys were sitting getting annoyed because like I'd be
Is that because you were just like talking about it too much, or it was like on your mind?
No. It wasn't even that. It was like, you know, I'd be like, cunt this, cunt that, fuck, and just talking willy nilly. But I think it just automatically is going to happen when you're in a relationship. But that was what I brought to the table. So then when you remove that,
best content's always off the cuff. Like you'll just say something, bro, and you'll say something like wild. But then once you sort of took that away from him, it was kind of like
wild stuff.
Like even that comment just before.
Respectfully, you don't go to Simi for a deep interview. Like you go there for escapism and to laugh.
You tried to hold hands with Volk. That sums you up.
Yeah,
but like it didn't go your way, but the risk was what was important,
and that's more scalable than like a deep business conversation.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. If you can make
marketing.
people,
marketing is business.
If you can make people laugh and get away from their day-to-day life, bro, that's where the money is.
Yeah. And like, even like, I mean, you get some people hit me up and they're like, bro, like, thank you so much for talking about this and that. And I was like, there's someone, I remember some guys like, man, what do I do in this? And I go, bro, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence of fucking suicide right now, man. I go, I'm the last guy. Like, I'm only here to get my paycheck and fuck off yet. And he's like, oh, sweet, sorry about that, man. But like, you don't
realize how much people are actually going through shit, eh?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, like we got heaps of messages, like, because I'd talk openly about my fuck ups. But
I found like I'm on the other side of it where it's like, bro, I found that shit valuable because not necessarily I was going through shit, but like just to hear someone talk about it, like was pretty special. And you're right. Like sometimes I've spoken about this on this podcast. You don't realize sometimes how many, even though you see numbers, you don't realize how many people actually listen.
Yeah. Well, bro,
like it fucking like when you start getting messages and stuff, then you're like, oh fuck, like it's pretty important, like what we're pushing out.
Bro,
here.
like the biggest thing for me when I was sort of like, I think we were so far gone as like a crew, well, me within the crew, that it was like almost, it was hard to bounce back from. But like we were getting like All Blacks inbox me and like they started following me. Sonny started following me. Quaid, like, I mean, obviously they're mates, but like All Blacks were coming on, like UFC fighters were coming on, like, you know, Bo Ryan could only do like 4 interview podcasts a year and like he came on. And so it had like a lot of momentum. And we were like, we'd talk about doing potentially like a radio show / podcast every morning and then how that would build out. But it was just like, it was just too far gone by that time. And plus, I think the girlfriend aspect of it really fucking threw a spanner in my life.
Bro, our office was so toxic for a bit, bro, because it's like, it was like high school, bro, and because I thought...
you're great toxicity.
And like, that's where you thrive.
Flourishes.
I'll be like that kind of in the corner. They're like, oi, Simi, come shoot this content. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
Oh, I can see why you get pissed off, bro.
And then you're fucking Scope in the corner with his feet up all day and his barracks and socks going at 11 o'clock. Anything else, boys? All right, I'll see you later. And I'm like, no. And
it was a big balance of like Simi was like almost way too talented for content, but like didn't have the work ethic. And then we had other boys who were just really, really consistent. And I kind of took the consistent side and I like just left those boys. I was like, fuck.
From a
what do you want me to do?
Like, you look at it like, I look at that as like, you know, Dusty in the finals, Munster in the finals. Big time players make big time.
This might be ridiculous because it sounds like a pretty tough environment in general, but from a leadership perspective, like what were some of the lessons you might have picked up through that?
I was the worst leader because at the start I tried to be too cool. So I was like, fuck, everyone come out
like
with me. Matey, and like, oh, let's go party. I'll go get the tables, come back to my house, let's party there. And it was mad. It was like heaps of fun.
But got him on board.
Hey, I was there before he got there.
I'm already at your house.
So what song do you want on? What playlist do you want on? So I went from that route where like everything was going great and like we had like bulk cash. I was just like buying us fucking $8,000 a night rooms in Byron, like shit like that, bro. And it was, don't get me wrong, it was fucking fun, but then I
tried to talk him out of it.
Why can't I got employment?
Life was
Byron
good, man.
Chips,
Life
bro.
was good, bro.
Bro, you look at like a spoiled kid, you know what I mean? And you see like when you start to tell them no or like this isn't good enough, there starts to become a reaction to this because it's like, like we've had it so good for so long. Like why is I starting to come down hard on us now? So like I started watering the tree a certain way, and as it started to grow, I tried to change it, and it was kind of too late. And then I'll just get angrier and angrier and angrier. And then Lucky we didn't have Ace. Lucky I'm HR.
That helps.
I'll message him and go, you can't speak to me like this. There you go.
Here you go. I'm taking screenshots of all these. Like,
I send him a screenshot. I'm like, perfect.
I love and hate you too, bro.
do you know the worst thing about this kind of is like you'll spray him and get an angry ass, and then he'll just say one little funny joke at the time, and then you start cracking up. And then,
I reckon you would have. I could see what you would have been like in like school and shit.
Yeah,
you would have been the guy getting yelled at and then like make the class laugh.
Well, that's why
and
his
just
dad
like,
left.
completely
Fuck
like
that
unarm the teacher with what they were coming at you for.
Oh, bro, like I remember one time, like, I organized this event and I got blind, and I was, like fucking few Sherberton and I was getting bored of this event that I had organized, and I was like,
It was 2 hours too.
I was like, I'm out. I gotta go. So anyways, he goes, don't come in this week. And then we come jump on the podcast. Me and Jackson was quiet as, and I was like, I think we've got a case on our hands, because I took all these screenshots of his messages, and then he was yelling at me, and I go, record this. And I was like,
knowing Ice is HR. That's a funny part.
bro. And I was like, no, I'm just at home. He goes, no, fuck you fucking cunt. And I was like, yes.
He's such a bad human. He's such a bad. I want to segue into dating, because I spoke about it before we came on air. We're all single. We're either doing something really right or something really wrong. And I want to get everyone's introspective on it, because you've been quite open about like you're focusing on such and such at a certain time and you're not looking for stuff. But like, I don't really speak about it, but I'm good at getting girls in, just not retaining it. Or I'm not very good like in relationships.
It's not about retention.
What's stopping you from going past that next point?
I don't know, man.
Do you get bored?
Yeah, bored. And it's like I think I've learned it's a big decision. It's a big thing, bro.
Yeah. What's that sign of you?
Taurus.
Oh, no.
Horny. Oh.
Yeah. Horny. Is that what you said?
Yeah, horny.
Literally.
Yeah. Every star sign is that.
Maybe.
How do you know that? I didn't even know that about Tauruses.
Mate, yeah.
Stacks up.
Are you Taurus? Leo.
Sagittarius.
That makes sense.
No, it's kind of weird. Like I looked into like star signs and.
Do you believe in it?
Design.
Honestly,
I believe in life path numbers more than star signs.
If you know your star signs, if you know all that shit, you're guaranteed this.
It's a good leadway, eh?
It is, man. It is.
People hammer it like girls that bring up star signs on the first date, like they're red flags. But sometimes, like, it breaks down a barrier, and all of a sudden,
Would you lie about your star sign if you knew what was the opposite that attracted it? Like, if I was like, hey, what's your say you're the chick? I'm like, hey, what's your star sign?
I'm gonna say no, but if I was on a double date with you, 100% would. 100% would, just to catch you off guard and like say, yeah, man, I'm a Pisces.
Do you know what he does well? Do you know what he does well on a night out? Like he pays himself out early. But the thing is, like, it's a throw off because he's so big, like a big islander dude who's 6'4".
I wouldn't go on a double date with you, bro. I'm fucked.
Nah, but like, good thing is he gets the whole table laughing.
Yeah, you got good chat.
And then he'll just like whisper little things and gets them laughing. He plays it well, bro. He plays it well.
I don't put anyone else down. That's my thing. That's
I'm the opposite.
Right.
Straight away, he'd be like, what are you doing with this cunt? I just fired him last week. And I'm like, the fuck? What would you say that for?
Love that.
Yeah, I think you're the man, walk off. And I'm like, sorry about it, man. He's our little brother. You know how they are.
What about you guys? What's stopping you guys? Is there anything stopping you?
I don't know. Like, I just don't really know what I want from the other side, because I used to think I'd want someone like similar to me who's like driven and motivated. But like, I think you want the opposite. Like, as you get a little bit older, you kind of want peace when you come home. So I don't know. I don't probably put myself out there enough. Like, I don't go on dates or anything like that, because I enjoy my life so much. I'm not really chasing anything on the other side. I think if you focus on yourself, eventually someone will come.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I think I need to start doing that as well. Because you're in it. Your relationship was like, weirdly enough, in a public eye.
It's not weird, man. I'm Jordan Simi.
Yeah, they were like, but
all my relationships.
Your ex was like, she's like Instagram famous, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know much about it, but I know she's Instagram famous. So
he lived in Melbourne for a bit when he was with Bonnie Henderson.
Fuck, man, you've got a good list, huh?
Thank you.
Yeah. He chases
I need to see this CV. I need to see this CV.
They chase me.
Chases influencers.
Like,
what is it?
You put me in a room.
Is it because you're a red flag?
You put me in a room with anyone. Like,
okay,
I'm coming out in a relationship.
Give me one celeb that, because I've always said, like, I reckon if I met Rihanna pre-ASAP, I reckon I could get her because I'm from Barbados. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got mutual ground. But like, that's just my, but like, what's one outrageous, like, one that you would like, is there anyone that you've ever thought of that you could like, I could pull her?
Honestly, bro, like,
it sounds ridiculous.
And I've said this to everyone, even my mates that have no confidence. I'm like, I genuinely believe I can get anyone. I know it sounds fucked, but because of like my sales background, what I've learned to do is mimic their mannerisms and body language, and then like.
So you manipulate them.
Oh yeah. I mean, everyone manipulates everyone in their own right. You know, like it's just who's
we're
better.
all fronting, aren't we?
Yeah. So
genuine
filters.
Yeah. So but what I've realized though is like that's fucked me is like, as you said, like the retention side of things. Like I start to realize like that's not really who I am, and I'm being someone I'm not, and they're like, fuck, this isn't the guy that like, you know what I mean? So it just ends up biting you in the ass anyway. So, but in regards to my relationship, it really fucked me, eh? Like it really fucked me.
Are you all right now? Because I remember in Perth,
like I'm good now.
In Perth, like you were still kind of devastated. Yeah,
I was devastated, bro. And like, you know, it's normal,
like, man.
I still love her. I still dream about her. You know what I mean? So I don't know. You tell me if I'm fucking over it, mate. But you know, wake up cuddling 3 pillows. You tell me. Nah. But I what I've realized from that transaction is like.
Transaction.
Well, everything's a transaction. Well, everything's a transaction. You know what I mean? But I realized that like I've always died for Nyash. You know, I've always tried to chase after tail, and life is independent donkey, man. And like I'm not in a place where within myself, like financially, mentally, relationship wise with friends and family.
She was way too good for you too.
Nah, no way. Oh way, I'm Jordan Simi. Yeah, I broke all there. No, I'm joking. But you know what I mean. Like
it
just
sound like it.
No,
crying on my shoulder. I'm like, bro, we just met.
A few beers tonight, I'll be doing the same thing, cunt. That's me. I'm 100% straight off the bat.
Oh, bro.
But like,
she works in our office too.
That's the reason why you left.
Up to the wall.
So,
Shit, talking about me.
So we'll go to a coffee bar and I just walk past and like don't even talk anymore.
She says hello to me though. Was it to you?
Do you know, I can't figure it out if it's a really powerful sign of a person if they can be civil with their ex. Like you don't necessarily, but like I think that's a sign of strength. But at the same time,
I'm cool.
All my exes end up fucking unblocking me and messaging me and stuff like that. So I mean, once you've tasted the sweet nectar, it's hard to forget. But bro, I'm honestly like. Fuck, I couldn't tell you the last time I went on a date, like after the breakup, like you know, I've met a few chicks here and there.
Do you go on dates at all? Like, have you gone back in that?
I go through phases, bro.
Yeah,
where,
it's a mood thing, hey.
Yeah, like I might go like 6 months without going on a date, then I might go for 3 in 1 week.
Yeah.
So,
I'm saying
do you reckon you're like
do you know? Sorry, bro.
Yeah, you go.
Do you know what the hard thing is? Because we're into like podcasting and conversations. Yeah. Like I hate shallow conversations. And then sometimes I'll jump. And he said this to me before too. He goes, "No, you try and go too deep too early."
Yeah, I find myself like I feel like I'm holding the fort. I'm keeping things together, and they're like loving it because I'm like talking like this is normal. We've done 100 episodes of this, and they're like, "This guy's amazing." I'm like, "Fucking give me something back."
Give me something
back. They're and I'm like, I'm not feeling anything like.
And that's the hard part.
Do you know what I'm saying?
If you get them in the van.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing. First date in the van.
And the hard thing is, bro, because like as you start to develop as a podcast or you hang around different people, those types of conversations grow as you get into those types of circles. Yeah. So if you go into a situation where there's kind of like a low-key, shallow conversation, you might get bored of that because intellectually you're not stimulated.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and you can be as hot as you want, but if you can't hold a convo or make me laugh or make me think or make me feel at peace.
Have you always been like that? Because I wasn't like that until like the last few years.
I'm kind of balanced. Like I love like hanging around with a guy like Simi and Chico. All my mates are kind of like rap baggy. Yeah. And I love that because comedy is a form of conversation that's intellectual. Like our conversations and comedy, like there's a certain IQ that you need to make me laugh. Yeah,
you have a high comedy IQ.
It's huge, right?
Yeah. A lot of people have said that.
It's like
but that's a form of IQ in terms of conversations. But then I need the jump in with a business guy and go talk about life and books and stuff like that. So I like having the balance of the two.
Okay. I can do that too, though.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, do you know
what?
You
can flick the switch.
He knows enough about a lot of things that he can jump in a conversation and say something that only that person would understand.
I think your issue is that you love taking the piss too much. So even though you couldn't meet everyone, you're like, fuck that. I'm not gonna meet it. I'm gonna fuck this up.
We'll be in this room. We'll be in a bender, right? And I'll be in the room with like fucking Prince Harry and like not literally, but like all these people like high value people, and I'm sitting there having like chats with them, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't deserve to be at this table right now. Like, no. But yeah, bro. Like,
but, you brought up that kind of like self-sabotage thing, and I've said this to him. That's like, he does that a lot.
Yeah.
Because the hard thing is, and it's kind of sad, like with upbringing and stuff like that, like if you feel like people are going to leave, the best way you can predict an outcome is self-sabotage. Yeah. And he does it a lot to himself.
Are you an anxious, you know, those attachment styles? Are you the anxious one?
Yeah.
I'm the anxious one too, bro.
Yeah, I'm bad. But
I think it's the worst one.
I've disconnected from everyone.
I actually I was with my ex-girlfriend. We went to like couples therapy, and the lady gave me a book of like attachment styles, explaining you're this one and she's that one. And I read the chapter, and I'm like, what? It just tells me it doesn't. I broke up with her off the book, and I went back to the psych. She's like, well, not off the book, but I'm like, it was already done.
Yeah,
but like that validated it for me. I'm like, oh, the attachment styles don't work. Yeah, and I told her, and she's like, why did you do that? I'm like, well, you gave me a book and it explained why it can't work.
Yeah. So it's like a man movie. Yeah.
I was like, what do you want me to do?
That was like,
what attachment styles are there?
There's anxious, avoidant, secure. Secure is secure is the one you want to be or want to date. And then there's
that'd be me.
Avoidance, like you're kind of 1 foot always out. Anxious is you're always on edge. Like, you're not fully trustworthy. You're always hyper. Like you send, like they say, I'm not like this to an extent, but it says like from what I've read, like you send a message and they don't respond half the day, and you like send 2 more.
Oh, that's me.
Like, that's what they say. Like
that's me.
You're not chill. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm not
whereas Secure's like,
well, she was in the office right next door to us, and I'll be like, bro, where the fuck are you?
Yeah, Secure's like, if you left me right now, I know I'm gonna be fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
So that's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like that.
That's the best one to be.
Yeah, you are like that, actually. I remember when you going through a breakup, and I was like, it's all right, man, you'll be all right. And he's like, okay, like it's all good, man. Like,
but like you almost become too independent though. So like, say if you get in an argument, instead of you trying to figure it out and dive a bit deeper, you end up just going, oh, I'll just take off.
Yeah, that's true.
That's probably a reason why I'm on my end as well.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, but relationship wise, man, I in my mind, I feel like we're living in a time where it's
hard,
like,
man. I reckon it's really hard to date in this world. Like,
imagine.
Also, that market where I know the market. Like 100 years ago, I didn't know what the fuck was out there. I knew 3 girls up the street.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, I was writing letters and shit.
And a grizzly.
Like now, I can see girls in Perth, in Brisbane, in Brazil,
everywhere.
I'm like,
people see them, talk to them.
Yeah, and then you get money. Like, not saying I do this, but like people have money. It's like just one flight away. Like it's so easy to connect now.
Exactly.
So it's just it's a bit different. But
as soon as you have an argument too, it's like, well, I'm just going to go like fucking Shorty's pictures from last week that I met at fucking
Let me put up some quotes.
Put up some quotes in a topless pic.
Yeah, you'll see that all the time. Like the
bikini shots.
The legs in the bath. If you go legs into a bath straight into a quote, she's just broken up.
That's golden. That's golden. I just want to round up with a few business questions, because more from an advisory standpoint. I see. Maybe you take over. But I just want, in your eyes, your biggest success at YKTR. Like, what's been the proudest moment across the journey?
Kind of a
Don't say Simi.
Go on. This is like a little bit of a dark one, but there was a kid that ended up committing suicide, and he was a twin very early on, and he loved the brand so much that his brother buried him in YKTR.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like,
powerful.
The first thing I thought of when you said that was that.
Yeah. That's pretty special, man.
Yeah, it's pretty, but it's it's also scary at the same time. And
it is.
I talk on it like I'm proud of it, but it's just not that I'm proud of it, but it's cool to think that an idea that you had made such an impact like that.
Yeah.
And the mum's message, his mum's messaged me a couple of times, and every time I bring it up on a podcast, someone throws it back to her, and she always says, thanks for keeping this memory alive.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's fun. I know we're like joking and talking a lot, and probably people think like these guys sometimes are idiots, but like the part of why I think we speak like this is because we know how fucking real life is. So like we have to see the funny side in things, or else like it gets dark, you know what I mean? Real quick. So that's why so sometimes important that we do shit like this just to lighten the mood.
100%.
People go through real shit, like you said.
Yeah. I was about to say that when he was talking before, like, as I know a lot of people going through stuff, but like dark content all the time, like draining to listen to at the same time. You just get like, you just feel sadder and sadder. So I think the balance of laughter is like one of the greatest medicines there is.
Right.
100%.
And like anyone that's listening to Geordie, there's always someone that can relate to him. And then if he throws a joke 100%. Off the bat, they laugh too.
I reckon you're relatable to everyone, whether it's not, doesn't have to be 100%, but
it's normal, like a normal dude.
Yeah, you
like
don't put on front.
Do you know what he does? He's kind of like Theo Von. Like, he'll say what you're thinking, but you don't have the balls to say.
Yeah, Theo Von, I love that dude.
He's the guy.
I love that dude.
Cancelled, but I mean, now, man, it's fine.
All right, so this is probably the second last question, but biggest lesson you've learned across the journey that if you started again, you wish you knew. So for anyone out there starting business, sort of the biggest thing that you picked up through your journey that would have been handy to know at the start.
I kind of used to think like entrepreneurship was for everyone, but I sort of realized it's not. So I think the biggest thing about entrepreneurship is not so much about IQ. I used to get a buzz when people say like, "Oh, look how smart you are!" Like it feeds the ego up. But I think business is more about persistence. So in the world, there's only 5% of entrepreneurs in the world. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't think you have to be special to start, but I just think you have to be consistent.
Do you think persistence beats whatever you're doing in business? Like the product? It's not about the product, it's about the persistence in a sense.
I think persistence should become in like constantly trying to evolve, not trying to push the same thing. You know what I mean?
Got you.
It's us just making
so fail fast, you keep moving, keep going.
Stay light and be able to pivot. And one of the best things about all the boys leaving is like our business used to run like 80K a month on expenses. And we were doing like wild shit. Like we had heaps of staff, cool offices, like, you know what I mean? But if I stayed in that...
I was getting pissed every day.
We got a fridge full of piss. But if I'm in that spot there now, like I can't pivot on the spot. Like I can't just go, oh, we're doing this now. Like we block our website now and only use password and have limited stock on it.
Okay.
It's open at the moment, but like before like that, I'll be like, shit, I got to pay all these guys wages. So we have to be pushing merch. And if you're pushing shit all the time, it becomes like a little bit yuck. You feel yuck.
I'm like starting trying to start my clothing brand, and like there's been a few expenses that like I definitely took for granted from when I was at YKTR. Like even like little merch like runs, or like even just going to get the samples, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's $500." You're like, "The fuck? There's 5 T's here." Like and I'm like, "Holy cow!" Because I'd say to him, I'd be like, "Man, I need to get this done." He's like, "Are you fucking paying for it?" I'm like, "Come on, man! Like, let's go." And then now that I've started to like roll out like photographers and I'm like, you obviously know there's expenses there, but like when the numbers on the invoice, and you're like, "Oh, my bad, man." Message him like, "Hey, bro, sorry about that, hey, bro."
And it was like one time, like, and because they just said it's business money, like expenses, blah, blah, blah. But you're taking money out of somewhere. And I remember like Jacko once, I fucked up like a 20K. It was a 20K fuck up, and he was just sort of like laughing. And I was just like, I was so angry.
Yeah, that's fucked.
And I was there going,
I agree with that.
I remember one time,
in the corner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No. When anyone got in trouble in the office, everyone else was happy as.
Oh, really? That's
happy.
That's a toxic office.
Oh, bro, it was the best. It was the best.
It was good for content.
Yeah, great for content.
And then I remember one time, like Jackson's pay was late by a day or two, and he was just having his little snarky comments about like, "Hey, got bills and shit to pay." And I said, it's different when it comes out your own pocket.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. To round out, we've got a question we always finish with. The listeners will know I test sort of 3 key traits to success in business, sport, life: resilience, drive, or ambition. All 3 are important, but I want you to both pick the one that's been most important in your journey, that resonates the most out of the 3.
Resilience.
Yeah. Sounds like your story you would have never lost.
Oh man, yeah, fuck, yeah. I think like there was a time, like point where I sort of like, fuck this, like. But I think I've just always like, I've put myself in the hard positions, but I've always like, whenever shit hits the fan or like I'm in a really tough spot, I'm like, I just don't back down from it. I'm like, and I've been into some weird situations, like, and
I think you like being in those situations.
Nah, not anymore. Not anymore. I mean, like, it's not that I knew it would come. It was just like a fucking domino effect, and then I'd find myself fucking sitting in the car, like in the random car park, going, "Fuck, we've done it again." You know what I mean? It doesn't hit you until it hits you. Yeah, you're just in a KFC car park, fucking counting coins to get a feed, and you're like, "I fucked up again, man." Like, car full of fucking clothes. You're like, "Fuck." Oh, mates are pissed off at you.
Bless your soul, bro.
Yeah, bro. Resilience, man. That's my one.
All right.
What was that?
Drive, ambition.
I'll probably go ambition, because I mix in, when I hear ambition, I hear passion. So a lot of people see you as sort of me as motivated, but I'm not. I just like what I do. Yeah. And that allows me to be resilient and consistent. Yeah. You know, if you're doing something you love every single day, you can be consistent. It's not hard. You don't have to get paid a lot of money, but if you do it over time, that money comes.
Beautiful answer. Boys, it's been a blessing having you on, man. I love you guys. I love the content that you both put out.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure, man. Hopefully we get to the footy tonight. Let's try to do that.
Bro, hard. I'll be keen ass.
Yeah,
done.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next week.